Hey, everybody, welcome back to Travers Talks, and I'm Jim Horn. Today, we're looking behind the scenes at one of the most critical but often overlooked public services in Grand Traverse County, Central Dispatch. They're the folks who take your 911 calls, but did you know the majority of the calls they handle aren't emergencies? Turns out most of their call volume, about 54,500 calls a year, come through as non-emergency. And here's the kicker. 60% of those don't even need to involve a trained telecommunicator. So what's taking up their time? A lot of call routing. Think someone looking for a police report follow-up, or asking about a civil dispute, or needing help with child custody questions. Calls that really should go to the courts, the Secretary of State, or a lawyer. But instead, they're coming through dispatch. So you can imagine what happens during high-stress events like the Cherry Festival or something else that's going on in our town. Anyway, we're going to be listening to the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners meeting that was held on Wednesday, June 18th. I can tell you this, the county board voted to use AI simulation for non-emergency calls. And I want to make that very specific. These are for non-emergency calls. And they're going to talk about this, and hopefully you'll get a better picture of what's been happening at Central Dispatch. Anyway, let's listen to the rest of the podcast, and you'll get an idea of what's going on. There you have it, folks. And now we're going to listen to Corey, who is the Deputy Director of Central Dispatch.
I am not here to talk to you about 911. I'm here to talk to you about fireworks. When can we shoot fireworks? Can you stop my neighbor from shooting fireworks? Can you stop the Cherry Festival from shooting fireworks? My dog has anxiety. Where do I find help for that? Where do I pay my property taxes? Can you help me to find a lawyer? Where do I get legal advice from? Can you give me legal advice? Can you send that cute deputy back out here? Pretty sure that was referring to Mike. We even have a caller that is calling us all the time just with the purpose of yelling at us.
Said I was sorry.
It can't be you, because we believe this particular lady is in California, and we believe she's institutionalized out there. These are the types of calls that we get on our non-emergent line. And we are looking at a tool to not eliminate, you just can't eliminate, but to tamp down on those. And if it was just a couple of dozen a month, something like that, we could deal with that. But it's thousands. It's thousands. And I haven't even mentioned spam. We're getting all kinds of spam calls, even on our 911 lines now. So we have a limited capacity to deal with this. We have a limited staffing, and we always are going to have a staffing shortage. I have never used all of my FTE. Never once. So we're trying to figure out an innovative way, somehow embrace new technology to start handling these kinds of problems. So we want to lessen the burden of our 911 team so that they can focus on emergency calls and responder safety. That's the core of what we do. Taking your calls in an emergency and sending out first responders, and then keeping those first responders safe with radio duties. And if we could tamp down on the fireworks complaints and those kinds of things, I think that would help us to focus on what our core mission is. And that is what we are here asking you for today. I have with me also Leah, and she is from Aurelian AI, and she can demonstrate a little bit about how this would work. We're also happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So, for those of you that I don't know, my name is Leah Hornacek. If you don't know, my background actually started here in 2007. I started as a dispatcher, and I worked at Grand Traverse 911 through 2021. The last 6 of those, or almost 6, as the deputy director of the agency. So I do have some experience in the 911 industry and with this agency. I also have the honor of serving on a national 911 board, the National Emergency Number Association. I'm the North Central Region Director, and I represent 13 states in the Midwest. We do standards-based type policies, procedures, forming those, and then representing the membership as well for any issues that they might have in the 911 industry.
Okay, there you have it. There's the introduction of Leah. By the way, FPE is full-time employees. That's what Corey was talking about. Leah talks about some issues that are in a big city like Seattle.
Places like the city of Seattle, it's a 2-hour wait to get your non-emergent call answered, and then another 5 to 6 hour wait to actually get help if you're going to get help. So it's trying to solve those issues, but we want to solve them on every scale, not just large city, but small cities as well.
Okay, there's her introduction into Grand Traverse County, a smaller area, certainly than Seattle. Next up is Leah.
I can tell you in my career here, I've answered probably hundreds of calls of people that don't want lights and sirens, but their husband or maybe they themselves are having chest pain. That needs a human. It will always need a human. There are also situations that are sensitive in nature. Maybe somebody is reporting a criminal sexual conduct. AI should not be handling that. That is also a human call. It deserves a human touch, right? We want to triage those and get them through to a telecommunicator, a dispatcher, as soon as we can. And then the third, really a bulk of what we do, is collecting information for what would end up being a call for service. Maybe something that's not in progress right now. My vehicle got broken into. I was at work last night. No idea who did it, but my iPad's missing. You'll have a chance to listen to that call. We can collect that information, present it to a dispatcher that they can review quickly to make sure it's accurate and complete, and then get it out to a responder who can respond to it. So the first one that I mentioned is just the simple call transfers. A dispatcher will be logged into this. How the agency does that is up to them. It could be one person handling it, or everybody could have access to it and do a round robin. But they have this call history. They can see that a call has come in. And I'll play this really quickly. Nope, we don't.
Aurelian demo. How can I help?
Yeah, I need to check to see if somebody's in jail.
Your call is now being forwarded.
Done. As simple as that call gets transferred to the jail. That's all they really needed.
Okay, so now you heard a demonstration. You'll have another call to listen to. Once again, folks, these are non-emergency calls. 911 emergency calls will always be handled as an emergency, not with AI simulation. So let's listen a little bit further.
Where's the start for the marathon or Bayshore Marathon, or that's another event, but where are the festival of races? Where do they start? Where does the parade end? Where can I pick up my kid that's on this float, right? We take all of those calls throughout the course of this week. So here's just another example of one and what we can do.
Okay, let's listen to an actual call.
Forwarded automated assistant. Aurelian demo. How can I help?
Hi, yeah, I'm in town for the Cherry Festival, and I really don't want my car to get towed. Can you tell me when they close down the streets for the parades during the festival?
Would you like a text message with information about Cherry Festival events? If not, I can let you know that streets along the parade route are closed on parade days from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Which option would you prefer?
I'll check the text message as well.
Is the number you're calling from 23163288012 a good number to send the text to?
Okay, there you have it. Now remember that 911, the emergency people were handling these calls. So this is why AI simulation is so beneficial.
It's never quite the right answer, and it keeps going on, and I get frustrated and it loops. And so tell me what that looks like with this system. Does it give somebody the option to actually talk to a human?
Yeah, so the agency sets the resistance. I'm not really a great caller either. Representative 000. I'll hit numbers because I want to talk to a human. The agency sets that level of resistance. If they're just going to pound on numbers, it's going into a human, and they can set that to be 1 time. They can set it to be 7 times. Same thing with saying certain words. They set what that is.
Okay, so that was Commissioner Walter, and we've all beat the telephone keypad because we want to get the human voice, right? Anyway, that was the response from Leah. Anyway, next, Commissioner Nelson.
I really like it. I'm impressed. In light of that, a couple negative things that I want to ask. And Commissioner Walter talked about the zero bangers, or if I keep saying, I want to talk to an officer, does the person who is then responding, getting that information from the system so they know that I'm that jerk who wants to know about the parade, but I want to talk to an officer, or...
In a very kind way, yes. And it's not going to call you a jerk. But
no, but if
so that transcript
dispatcher, do they see that, okay, this guy...
They will. They can look at that call. That transcript is there, both for calls that were deflected that they wouldn't see, or ones that are transferred in. They can see that either they were saying something over and over again.
Okay, so there you have an answer. Once again, pounding the keyboard, and apparently the AI simulation can tell if there's an emotional issue and somebody needs to get through. And obvious answer from Leah was yes. Next, one of the other important areas, a lot of welfare checks. And Commissioner Andrews was the commissioner that wanted to know about welfare checks.
A lot of welfare checks. So the question is, once that welfare check, mostly what the AI is going to deal with is welfare check. So the biggest category is welfare checks.
That's the highest one. Yep. And then all the rest are also in there.
Fair clarification. Yeah. Thank you. So when the welfare check call comes in, the person has this engagement with AI, and then what happens? Do they get it?
Yeah, so if they called in and say, hey, I haven't heard from my friend for a really long time, I would like to do a welfare check, it's going to be transferred through to a telecommunicator right then and there.
So those would go then. So then that's my question. How does that connection happen? Does that now put it on the 911 line, or how does
it? So that also depends. So you can set rules, right? If there is a medical emergency, like the example that I gave, yes, that can be transferred through to an emergency line through the IP-based network that they are currently on.
So there you have it. That was a small segment, but it does give you information. Once again, I know I'm going to repeat this and you'll get nauseated. This is for non-emergency calls. And you've heard some of those non-emergency calls, how do I get a hold of the jail, or how do I find out if this guy's in jail, or whatever. I think the important thing here is that the AI simulation, the cost for the system was, the first year was roughly $64,000, and the cost for the next 3 years, the first year is going to be a trial. The following 3 years would be a contractual thing. And by doing this, by using AI simulation, they're able to eliminate one full-time employee, which Corey said they have difficulty, keeping a full staff. Anyway, this will give you an update, folks, as to what's coming down the pike. Oh, you should be experiencing this in, I would imagine, the next 25 or 30 days. Anyway, hey, this is Trevor's Talks, and have yourself one great day.